Sick of getting blisters? Stop slipping and just be comfortable with Pure Grip Socks Pro. Great fit, great comfort, lots of grip, and an even better price. Available now at puregripsocks.com.
Inside this box is a pair of football boots that I honestly believe are a phenomenal idea, but unfortunately, and this is of course just a matter of opinion, they might be lacking a few too many features to be considered a good buy. In a world of seemingly limitless options when it comes to football boots, are they actually worth it? With the boots in question being the limited edition Adidas Predator Precision.3 remakes. We're used to seeing Adidas bringing back remakes of some of their classic Predator models at extremely high prices, but for the first time ever, we have a 0.3 budget variation, these retailing for $90 rather than the $250 or $280 that you'd have to pay for the higher end versions in this release. But just because they're inexpensive compared to the top end options, that doesn't necessarily make them worth it, which is exactly what I want to discuss in today's video. What I think Adidas got right with this concept and what I think they got very, very wrong, ultimately helping you decide whether or not these are actually worth the $90 asking price. So if you're interested in learning more, including how these fit and feel on feet, please stick around, watch the entire review, and if you are interested in a pair for yourself, you can pick them up below their normal retail price by way of some exclusive SR4U coupon codes by checking out the first link down below. And really quickly, if you guys enjoy seeing reviews of less expensive football boots on the channel, drop a like on the video and make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already so you don't miss out on my reviews of all the latest football boots of 2023. So first things first, let's talk about what Adidas got right. And while this has nothing to do with performance, I think it's important for a release like that in that these legitimately do look like a pair of Predator Precisions that came out 23 years ago in the year 2000. Obviously up close, you can see the materials used and some of the details are definitely on the cheaper side, but from a distance, that fold over flap tongue is super identifiable, and in general, they do look like old school Preds, which is good. Something else I think is really cool, and again has absolutely nothing to do with performance, but I think people will appreciate it. Also something I don't think has ever been done before. At $90, these include a string bag, black mesh, Predator branding on the front, the Adidas logo there in pink, typically something that is reserved for football boots that retail for $200+. You're getting a string bag with a $90 pair of football boots. This bag gets a 92 out of 137.4. And then there's the price, $90. Seeing any football boots under the $100 mark in 2023, given how expensive football boots are these days, I think is something that a lot of people will really appreciate. And especially given how Predator remakes have retailed for $350 for the longest time, this makes them so much more either attainable or justifiable, because $350 for a pair of football boots, let's face it, that's insane. Now, unfortunately, this is where the video takes a bit of a negative turn, because as much as I like the concept of these football boots, I really feel like they missed the mark in terms of actually making these anything like a pair of Predator Precisions or classic Predators at all for that matter. And the first thing is the upper. It's a synthetic material, a foam-based synthetic, as you guys can see by the edges, and I'm not sure what confusion is happening at Adidas right now, but if you go on their website, it's going to tell you that this does have a partial leather upper in the forefoot toe box area. It does not. It's very clearly one piece of synthetic all the way through, and it's not a bad feeling material on foot. The boots as a whole are pretty comfortable. I'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. It's not without its issues, but they definitely don't feel bad. However, this is a cheap synthetic material that you would expect to find on a football boot well under $80. These being $90, I suppose it's justified being that it is limited edition, but honestly, a nicer synthetic material or even just natural calfskin leather would have been a gigantic improvement over the synthetic that ultimately feels a little bit on the chunky side. The boots do have a bulky feel in general, which again, you kind of expect that, being that this is an upper design that is now 23 years old, even with the fold over flat Predator tongue, which I really like from a looks perspective. It's just adding a ton of bulk, being that they've used this relatively chunky foam-based synthetic material Overall though, the touch on the ball is padded. There's more protection than what you're going to find from the average football boot. So if that's your thing, there's something to like about these. But overall, this synthetic material is, like I said, kind of on the cheaper side, and you can definitely get better quality for less money in this category of football boots. But that's not my biggest issue with these. If you look closely, the rubber Predator elements aren't actually rubber elements at all. They're just graphics printed on the surface of this synthetic upper, providing no additional grip whatsoever, and realistically not giving you anything that makes a Predator model a Predator. And in fairness to Adidas, for the longest time, Predator models at this third tier price point, typically $80 or so, have never had actual rubber elements. But being that this is a remake of a football boot from the year 2000, what is the point of putting out a Predator, even if it is budget friendly, if it's not going to have rubber Predator elements? In my opinion, without the extra grip from real rubber elements, this is basically just a cheap football boot made from cheap synthetic that looks like a Predator Precision from a distance, but really offers no benefit at $90 compared to other football boots you can get for less money that are ultimately going to fit and feel better on the ball. Everything else about these boots is typical Adidas third tier takedown model, which I would say is okay in this particular application, but in general, not fantastic, again, considering other options. The fold-over flat Predator tongue does have this Velcro section, just like the higher-end models, to help hold it down. Again, classic Predator Precision design. You can see those nylon lace holes, or lace loops, I should say, are holding the laces together, with, of course, the actual lace hole at that top position. The heel does have an internal structure to it, so you have a heel counter there. It's lined in this smooth synthetic leather material, very straight up and down, almost flared open design, so very wide through the back, which we'll talk about in just a second. And again, at $90, the insole is fully glued in and pretty much as cheap as it gets. You can, again, get something better than that at a lower price point than these are priced. And then the sole plate is a recycled Predator 0.3 sole plate from the previous generation. It wasn't great then, it's not great now. It's kind of awkward in terms of how it flexes, and in general, like I said, not that great. And then there's the weight, which given the chunky nature of these football boots, it shouldn't be that surprising that they're not exactly lightweight. In a size 9.5 US, you can see the Precision 0.3 weighs in at 10.2 ounces, the equivalent of 289 grams, which is actually lighter than the Precision Plus variation at $280, but that gives you a leather upper and rubber elements, which in my opinion makes it a much better football boot along with other improvements that those have. Nonetheless, at 10 ounces, this really isn't spectacular for a modern day football boot, and I understand it's not supposed to be, being that it's a remake, but if you're gonna have extra weight, they should at least feel like a pair of Predator Precisions, and unfortunately, that's not the case. On feet, the Precision 0.3 is far from uncomfortable, but it's certainly not without its issues. Like I mentioned, this cheaper synthetic they've used for the entire upper is nicely padded and feels soft and flexible enough. There's really nothing to complain about in regards to how it feels from a comfort perspective. On the ball, I do think it does feel a little bit cheap. Obviously with the extra bulk from the fold-over flap tongue, it only kind of enhances how bulky these football boots already feel. It's really the fit where I have a bit of an issue, particularly with the 0.3, and it's not quite as bad with the higher end versions in this particular release, although it's still an issue with those as well. It's the heel. It's super wide, it kind of flares out, there's just slippage. Unless you have a really wide heel, there is definitely going to be some movement, and again, every time I make a video on old school Predators, people complain about me using the top lace hole. Honestly, without using it on this particular pair of boots, I'm pretty convinced my feet would just fly out of them. There is literally hardly any lockdown in the heel whatsoever. I just feel like that needed to be modified in order to just have a better overall fit. But at the same time, I understand that this is a 23-year-old design that's kind of been modified to work in a $90 football boot with cheap materials used. Again, they could definitely do a better job, but you kind of take what you get with a football boot like this. From a width perspective, there's pretty much plenty of width all the way through, so if you have wide feet, these will work. If you have super narrow feet, probably not the best idea. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you are looking to get a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So in conclusion, if you have a budget of less than $100 and all you care about in a pair of football boots is that they look like a pair of old school Predators without any of the old school Predator feel or characteristics, then these are the boots for you. However, if you care about anything else as it relates to the quality, fit, or feel of a pair of football boots retailing for under $100, then you should stay very far away from these. Something like the Adidas Predator.3 or the Nike Tiempo Legend 9 Academy, both football boots that are significantly less expensive than these. Those will both offer a much better experience. You're at least getting a leather upper. The fit is better, they're lighter overall, they're more comfortable football boots, and offer a significantly better feel and touch on the ball as well. Like I said, really cool concept. I think they can definitely improve this in the future, whether it's a cheaper leather upper, but definitely the inclusion of rubber elements. I think those are both things that we should be getting on a Takedown Predator remake if they're going to continue with this concept. And even if it means charging a little bit more than $90 to get those things, I think there will be a lot more happy people if that's what we end up seeing in the future. As it stands though, really cool idea. Unfortunately, just not the best execution.